Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's start with a big question. Have you ever wondered why you sometimes crave closeness in a relationship, but then at other times you might find yourself pulling away? Today, we're diving deep and unlocking the secrets behind our romantic bonds, and we're using the incredible book Attached by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller as our guide. We're going to tackle that very question by exploring a scientific framework that might just completely change how you look at every single relationship you've ever had. So get ready, because we're about to understand the actual science behind why you connect with people the way you do. So why on earth does love get so complicated? Let's dive in by looking at a pattern that is, well, incredibly common, and for so many of us, incredibly painful. If you've ever found yourself in this loop, it's so easy to blame yourself or maybe your partner. To start thinking that maybe you're just not cut out for this whole relationship thing. But what if I told you there's a deeper biological reason for these struggles, one that's actually rooted in our evolution? See, this isn't just about mushy feelings. It's about a very real mechanism in our brain called the attachment system. Think of it like your own personal internal radar, constantly scanning for safety and connection. Now, this was first studied in kids and their parents, but researchers found that we adults have the exact same system firing away in our romantic relationships. That need for connection, it's not a weakness. It's a fundamental survival instinct, literally hardwired into our DNA. And okay, here's the crucial part. We don't all connect in the same way. The theory actually identifies three main attachment styles that pretty much describe how we tend to bond in relationships. So let's break them down. First up is the anxious style. Now, if this is you probably thrive on intimacy and closeness. You might find yourself putting a ton of energy into your relationships, but there's often this underlying fear that your partner just doesn't feel the same way. And this can lead to a lot of stress, a lot of worry, and just constantly questioning where you stand. Wow, this quote from the book, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? That constant need for reassurance, the obsessive thoughts, that deep fear of abandonment, that's the anxious attachment system kicking into overdrive. Okay, next, we have the avoidant style. For someone with this style, intimacy can feel like a threat to their freedom and independence. So to keep a safe emotional distance, they might use what the book calls deactivating strategies. Things like focusing on their partner's tiny flaws, sending mixed signals to keep you guessing, or maybe talking about a perfect ex that doesn't really exist. And this quote right here, it perfectly captures that avoidant mindset, that feeling of being trapped, that sudden loss of interest just when things are getting close, and the constant search for the one who won't trigger these feelings. It is a classic sign of this attachment style. And finally, we have the secure style. These are the people who seem to make relationships look, well, easy. They're totally comfortable with intimacy, but they're also confident on their own. They're basically masters of communication, able to say what they need clearly and also understand their partner's needs in return. And I love this example of Bella and Mark because it is a perfect illustration of the secure style in action. Instead of blaming him or just withdrawing, Bella tackles a problem head-on. She communicates her needs with confidence and respect. And this doesn't just solve the problem, it actually makes their bond even stronger. Okay, now that we understand the different styles, let's look at what happens when two of them collide in a very specific and often very painful way. I'm talking about the anxious avoidant trap. This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? This is the painful dance of the anxious avoidant relationship. The more the anxious partner pushes for closeness, the more the avoidant partner pulls away. It becomes this vicious cycle where both people are constantly having their worst fears confirmed. The anxious person feels abandoned, and the avoidant person feels completely smothered. Emily's story is such a powerful example of what this trap actually feels like. Her attachment system went into this state of constant, frantic alarm. And it's so important to get this. She wasn't being crazy or needy. Her biological need for connection was being consistently denied, and that can feel as powerful and consuming as an actual addiction. So, if that's the problem, what in the world is the solution? Well, the book argues it's not about becoming totally independent and not needing anyone. It's about finding a secure base. And this brings us to a really fascinating idea called the dependency paradox. I know, it might sound a little weird, but the more you can truly depend on your partner, the more independent and confident you actually become. A secure base gives you the freedom and the courage to go out and explore the world because you know you have a safe place to come back to. Okay, so how do we build this secure base? It's not magic, right?
It's all about having the right tools. And the first step is to really understand who you're in a relationship with. And the second is to learn how to communicate your needs effectively.
The book gives us some smoking guns to look out for. These are really clear signs that someone might have an avoidant attachment style. And honestly, paying attention to these signals early on can save you a world of pain and confusion down the road. So instead of resorting to what the book calls protest behaviors, like giving the silent treatment or trying to make your partner jealous, secure communication is all about being direct. It's about owning your feelings, owning your needs, and expressing them clearly and respectfully. So, for example, instead of saying, "You never call me," you might try, "Hey, I feel a little disconnected when we don't talk during the day. Could we maybe check in with each other a bit more often?" See the difference?
Understanding all these concepts, the styles, the traps, and the tools, brings us to the final, and I think the most important question you can really ask yourself.
And this right here is the absolute heart of the book's message. I'm going to say it again. The right relationship doesn't trigger your anxiety, it calms it. It shouldn't feel like a constant battle. It should be your safe harbor in the storm of life, a place when you feel seen, heard, and totally supported. It is so, so important to remember that your need for connection is not a flaw. It is literally what makes you human. And finding a partner who not only understands that, but actually celebrates it, well, that's the key to building a relationship where you can both truly, truly thrive. So, I'll leave you with this question. Which attachment pattern do you see in yourself? Because by understanding your own style and by learning to recognize the styles of others, you can start to make different choices. You can finally break free from those painful cycles and start building the secure, loving connection that you've always wanted and that you absolutely deserve.